Hi, this is Russell from Low Fruit Solutions, and today I'm going to be talking about the Instant Brand Page application, what it is and how to set it up. So what is the Instant Brand Page? Well, it's really an A to Z index of all the vendors or brands that you have in your store. And the purpose of having this page is for two real reasons, and that's just to serve two specific audiences. One are customers browsing your store who may want to see which brands you have in your store, because people identify very well with specific brands. And the second audience is search engine robots, because ultimately they'll go off an index and having all these brands in a list that are then linked to products will add value and weight to your site for those specific vendors. So on that note, let's move on to the app and how to set it up. Right, so I'm just going to go to my demo store here. This is in a sandbox environment, and we're going to do the setup. So I've already installed the app. I haven't done the actual next installation step, which we're going to go through now, which is to click on the navigation link here at the bottom of the online store, and I'm going to add a link to my Instant Brand Page on my main menu. So if we look back at the site, the main menu is the top one. The other alternative is to add it into the footer, but my feeling is that if you're adding into the footer, you really are only looking for one half of the audience, which is to create an index for search engines. Where you add it to the main menu, it's obviously going to be visible to customers who are actually browsing your store. So we're going to click on main menu, and we're going to add a menu item. I'm going to give it the name brands, nice and simple. I'm going to click on the link and select the option of pages. And the name of the page we're looking for is our brands. You can rename that if you wish within pages, and then click add. I'm going to click on the save button here. That's saved the change to the menu. Now if we go back to our site, we can do a quick refresh, and there we go, setup complete. Now we'll look at what settings you have available to change the look and feel of your page. But before we do that, let's click on the link and just have a look and see what we've got by default. So by default, here we have a list of quite a number of brands. There's over, I think, around 500 on this demo store, and sorted into a vertical layout and showing images. Now images within this list come from three particular sources, and we're going to talk about how we manage those in a little bit. But it's basically in order of priority. Where you've uploaded a custom image, that'll be displayed. Then if you have a brand that has a corresponding collection, in other words the name is the same, so using an example here, that if we had a brand, we have a brand called 3M, and you have created a collection called 3M, which you've put all the 3M products into, and you've given that collection a name, a image within that page, we will display that image here. And if you don't have an image for the collection, we'll go through the respective products within that collection to get an image of a product. So which is what's happened here at Daimler, right? So this one has a collection, but there's no collection image, so it's just picked out an image from one of the products within that collection. So in theory, if you had collections for all your brands, then there would always be an image available either from the collection image itself or from one of the products within it, assuming you have images for your products. But of course, on the flip side, that can create quite a bit of overhead if you have a number of brands. In this case, there's 500 in this demo store, and that would mean you would have to set up 500 collections, one for each vendor, which can seem like quite a bit of overhead. In which case, it'd be considerably easier just to simply add a custom image to each particular brand, and Instant Brand Page allows you to do that. So let's go back to the app, right? So we're going to click on apps here. Now this is because it's a sandbox environment, it's going to have a UAT version of the app. Obviously the production version does not contain this bracket UAT, and it's going to click on that, and this should load up the settings page, which allows us to govern the look and feel of the brand page itself and layout and so forth. So there are a couple of settings in the page setting. Let's go through. Match collections, as I sort of alluded to earlier, is where we take the vendor name or brand name and then we check to see if there's a underlying collection with the same name, so that the link on your brand page, instead of going to the default query, if you will, which I'm going to show you what that looks like. So this is a default query. Now, we'll pull up this collections, vendors, and then question mark Q equals. That is just a default. As you can see, there's no defined vendor page here, so there's no text that you could add to explain more about Danaher, because it's just pulled back effectively via the search. Where if you look at this one, the 3M, there is a collection. Okay, admittedly there's no text in here, but you could actually add text to that collection and it would display, so you'd have a landing page specifically for your brand. Obviously, depending on how many you have and how you want to manage it will govern whether you choose to create a collection for every brand. Like I said, it can be quite a lot of overhead otherwise. But this is what that setting does. It'll map, if you have got a lot of collection/brand pages already set up, this will link directly to them, so that when your customers click from the brand page, they will go straight to that particular collection page and have more detail about that particular brand, like their backstories and so forth. Display brand images is very simple, right? Having this checked means that we will do that image search and include the custom images you have specified within the page. And then you get the opportunity to change the size of the images you want. So you can go from fairly small to very large. If you have lots of brands, it makes more sense to have a smaller brand image, right? Because you then get a better use of the real estate available to you. Where if you only have a handful of brands, it's probably best to have a larger image available to you, because it takes up more of the space and it looks better. So for what we're going to do is we'll change some of these settings. We'll just take off the display brand images, and I'll save it in a short while. Next we have out of stock brands. So this is basically whether you want to include brands that have no inventory. So if you have products that are out of stock for a specific brand, well, it'll have to be all the products in that brand, and you don't want to display the brand in your brand page, you would uncheck this button. It's checked by default because ultimately it still makes it then available for search engines, and if your customers want a specific brand, they may then, if it's not available, they may go on to buy something else. So it's a bit of a philosophical choice whether you want to have that or not. I think having it in there for search engines is probably better than not having it in there. The next available option here is discounted brands. So what this does is it displays brands which have products that are currently at discounted sale. In other words, there is a difference between their compare price and their current retail price, right? So their current retail price is less than their compare price, right? Which is what you would have in a sale. So I'm going to enable that. So I've turned off the display brand images. I'm going to say display discounted brands, and then I'm going to choose the option for my sale icon, which will be what indicates whether it's a sale on sale. And I'm just going to change it to the square one here, and I'm just going to save, just so we can have a quick look at the differences this will make to the brand page. So while that's doing its thing, let's just refresh. Right. And here we come. Boom. So now you can see we've removed the images, and well, in our demo store here, there's obviously quite a few of them. Pretty much almost all the products have a discount within them. That's probably because we've done a lot of copying, if you will, of the products themselves to set this up, and that's why we have this large amounts of sale items. But you get the feel of it, right? So let's go back to it. That's some of the visual aspect around the settings of how the data is relayed through and displayed. Now, in terms of the layout, page layout has three options, right? We have horizontal, list, and vertical. Vertical has an additional setting of vertical columns, which is the number of columns the brands are split across. So at the moment we're running in a vertical with 4 columns. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we change that number down, we'd get less. Well, it depends on how many brands you have in the list, because sometimes it doesn't add up mathematically to do that, and then it'll be overridden. But for now, what we're going to go to is we're going to change the page layout to a horizontal. Now the index style refers to this portion here. So you can change that according to your own theme. It's basically a header of 1 to 5. So we're going to make it a slightly smaller header to a header 4. And we're going to change the brand font size. That brand font size is obviously the size of the lettering of the brands. And again, if you have lots of brands, it makes more sense to be slightly smaller than large. But in this case example, we're going to increase it to 16 pixels, and we're going to hit save. So this is going to change it to horizontal, decrease the size of the index. So let's just do that. Just a little refresh. And you can see, so the layout now is left to right instead of top to bottom, and you can see the size of the font has increased. Alright, so just for demonstration purposes, what we're going to do is just going to change it to the final page layout, which is a list literally top to bottom in a single column, before we move on to how we manage our brands individually. So just refresh that. Again, each particular layout lends itself well to specific amounts of brands. Like if lots of brands, the vertical layout makes a lot more sense. Small number of brands, you may want to have it in a horizontal or list format, because then you're just putting all the brands in one piece of space that your customers will not need to scroll through as much. Also worth mentioning is that the brand page itself is mobile friendly. So if viewed on a mobile browser, it'll actually change format so that it is slidable, and it includes an index at the top, which means that someone can click on any of the letters and it will take them directly to that where that is, rather than the old desktop scroll like we have here. So let's go back. We're going to enable display brand images because the next portion requires it. We're just going to take off a few other little pieces, and we're going to change back to vertical because I prefer that myself, and make the text a little bit smaller before we move over to the brands tab. Now the brands tab is specifically there to manage a couple of settings, right? So just going to click on the brands tab here. Oh, maybe I should click on it. Okay. And that is most importantly customize images, right? So in this list here we have, you can see there's all the brands. We can actually do searching on them. So let's just look at B, and it's it builds from the text, BHP bulletin, which is very helpful if you're looking for specific brands that you want to customize. And then you have a number of settings. So the top ones I've done some pre-config on, but what you can see here, these are blacked out. Now the star means they've been favorited. Now favoriting a brand will add it to your brand slider, which is something we'll talk about in part 2 of this presentation. Excluded means that you want to hide it. Now that could be for a number of reasons. One, you suddenly you've run out of stock, or you don't want to manage it dynamically through the stock portion, or you just don't really want to show that brand. Maybe you're selling it, but you don't want to advertise so much. So you can do that here. We've got add image, which is to upload custom images. And then we've got some informational status items here, right? So if we look at the ones on the top, there's 3M is a classic example. What you can see here is it's been favorited because it's gold. It's got a custom image uploaded, which you can edit or delete. Edit means upload another one. Delete means remove. The status, informational status, tells you that it's got a custom image. It also has a collection, right? So it's telling you that there is a collection to match to on this one. It's currently all in stock, and there's also items in there on sale, right? So this just gives you a bit of informational. You can also see here the store has 500 brands. This little counter tells you how many brands it's currently picking up on. So let's upload an image. We're going to upload probably just a random image here. We've got quite a few, and looks like I believe I have Airtel in here. So I'm just going to click on the add image, which gives you a little dialog here to choose the file. I'm just going to choose here. Let's have a look. Oh, it was Alcatel that I had, but look, it doesn't really matter. We've got a number here. I'm just going to pick there it is, sorry, Airtel. So I'm picking Airtel, and what I'll do is just hit save. But before that, please note that for best result, it's actually good to have about a 300 by 300 pixel PNG file, and you can save that for web device, PNG via like Photoshop, etc. So it compresses the size down, but it means that if you are to use the images in your sliders, that they are of sufficient quality and don't look, they look a lot better. So I'm just going to hit save. Right, so that was Airtel. Now what that'll do is it'll upload that file to your assets, and this should swap back. So let's have a look at Airtel quickly. We can just do this quickly, and there you go. You can see Airtel has a custom image applied to it. Now if we go back to our brands, remember I changed the setting to display images and change the layout again, so just because it's a lot better to look at. And we should see here now, Airtel, there we go, custom brand image available. So very straightforward. If you want to delete it, like obviously just hit delete, and it says pending because it sits in that state until you push save. Very key that any changes you make, you do need to hit save afterwards. You can do as many as you want and then hit save to complete them. And that, in a nutshell, is the Instant Brand Page. I hope you enjoyed watching. In part 2, we will cover the implementation and settings for the Instant Brand Page favorite slider.